Welcome to Tapped In. My name is David Figueroa-Martinez of DFM Coaching, and today we're going to be tackling, there has never been a better time to do jiu-jitsu than now, hands down. Sometimes I look at the situation now, if I was a white belt, how would I tackle learning jiu-jitsu? And and I'll admit this, there is a situation now where there's technique everywhere, and it's something that can easily distract you from the goals and the things that you're working on, because then you see this other cool technique over here and you want to pull that one and you want to do this one over here. And it's really easy to get distracted. And that old saying, whoever chases two rabbits ends up with none, however it works. I think that's how it goes. It's really easy to just feel like, oh, I'm going to do this technique and this one and then that one. And you get nowhere, or you get like this generalized knowledge of things, which really doesn't work in jiu-jitsu. In jiu-jitsu, offensively, you have to have a really specialized knowledge base if you want to get really good. It's the nature of the beast. And one of the things that I have always concerned myself with now as a coach in today's jiu-jitsu is the amount of information that's out there isn't all good, and it can just distract students quite a bit. Like every once in a while, you'll get a student come in and like, I saw this technique on Instagram, and they'll drill it and they'll play with it for a little bit, a couple of weeks, and then they drop it. Some of it you should drop. But sometimes the technique that you're doing, you just got to spend some time on it. You got to flesh it out. You got to work through it, and you got to really adapt it to your body type and the people you're rolling with. So it's a process. So I've always kind of wondered how I would have been as a student now versus before. Before, I did not have all the distractions we had now. 14 years ago, we didn't have YouTube to this extent. We didn't have social media like this. It was a different era. DVDs were how we were learning techniques and our instructors. It wasn't this giant plethora of instructions out there for you to get, and it wasn't streaming. So things have changed, and sometimes I try to put myself in the shoes of the student today and see how things would work out for me. But overall, I think the access to knowledge has exploded. And while it can get distracting, there are no secret techniques. Everyone has their stuff out there. If you're a butterfly person, you can learn butterfly from a host of different people who apply it differently, people who have different body types, someone who might have a body type very similar to yours, someone who might have an end goal similar to yours, like, hey, I wanted to use spider guard to this position, get in a triangle. And there might be a guy that does that same thing, or a woman that does that same thing, and you want to learn how they do it. There is nothing out of reach, and there's nothing hidden. Everything is available. A lot of it is free. A lot of it is low cost, and you can get off of social media or YouTube. So the knowledge base has exploded to a degree that I've never seen it before. And in that sense, it's beautiful for the student. As long as you can sit down and actually learn from it, take your notes, adhere, be specific to your intent of what you're going to be training instead of being pulled in every direction. That's the biggest hurdle. I think training cultures have also changed over the years. There was the old school method of just the tough survive. If you're not tough, and if you're not willing to go through it, that tough, we're getting slapped today, we're slapping, we're hitting, we're defending the dojo, we're like that tough, gritty, grinding aspect and the very macho approach, that old school Brazilian Gracie way, I think deters quite a few people from training. And I think today you're having different gyms that are based on different elements of what people want to do. If you want to be a pro, you have those gyms. If you want to be a quote unquote hobbyist, you have those gyms as well. And even within that, you might have a 20-something-year-old hobbyist versus a 40-something-year-old hobbyist. And that culture is going to be a little different. But I think overall, gyms have gotten to be much better than what they used to be. And we're in a different position. The cultures are shifting. They're identifying more as a whole and not catering to a specific group. From example, where I'm at, the majority of the people that I'm teaching at 5 a.m. are in their 30s, 40s, and some 50s and 60s. And the majority of them have families, full-time jobs, and they are coming in to get fit, to learn an art that they love, and then to go home in one piece. So we're adapting that style to the gym, and we train hard. Don't get it twisted. We train hard, but also we train very safe, and we don't want anyone to get injured so they miss work. So it's a cultural thing that I think has shifted over time. And also the culture of like how things are taught, in my opinion, is different. I think we're starting to finally pick up how other sports run practices and how they run cultures as a whole. And it's not this cookie cutter, oh, we're going to do jiu-jitsu warm-ups and then we're going to show a technique and then we're going to show two techniques. You're going to drill a little bit and then we're going to spar. Like there's so much more to it now. There's video review. There's Q&As that I do. There's drilling, situational drilling. There's games. There's a whole host of things that many of the coaches are doing now to help their students along. And also, if you're a coach of quality these days, you're also worried about them as people, and you're worried about their mental and how they're approaching things, and you're trying to coach them to adapt to the jiu-jitsu mentally as well as not just physically. It's a whole different game. When I was coming up, they didn't give a shit about you as a person necessarily, and you rolled and you didn't ask. Like nowadays, there's far more of a coach relationship with the instructors than there was before. Like now, the way I run it, you can ask me about your promotion. You can ask me about what you should be working on. You should ask me about, hey, can you roll with me and point things out? Like those are things that were not a thing when I was coming up in all the gyms that I was at. Some did it better than others, but oftentimes you didn't get the attention from the main instructor. And it was just the way it was. And you just patiently grinded, hoping that you were grinding the right way, hoping that you were doing the right things and working on the right things, but you weren't really sure. Nowadays, with my students, we have that communication. Hey, I noticed that you're doing this. Here's some videos on someone that does this really well. Hey, I noticed that you're struggling on this. I want you to have this homework moving forward for the next month. Like that was not a thing before, not in my circles at the very least. I think that there's a huge variety of styles these days. And while back in the day it was more self-defense oriented, self-defense governs where jiu-jitsu is going to go. If I could punch you in the face, playing off your back doesn't look the same as if we're in sport jiu-jitsu and there's no strikes. We can be honest about that. I'm not hurting anyone's feelings. I'm not talking shit about anyone. But it just changes the outcome of what we're going to be doing. Old school jiu-jitsu with slaps and punches and worrying about MMA and Vale-Tudo and just the streets dictates how much jiu-jitsu can actually grow. It shrinks the field of possibility because that possibility is I get punched in the face. Now with sport jiu-jitsu, we're not necessarily focused with that the sport has ballooned and you have so many different guards and berimbolo and I'm rolling under the feet and just so much more possibility to jiu-jitsu now than ever before. So you're going to see wildly different with different styles. And in the gym, I have a couple of different styles that people play and I love seeing it. It's a beautiful thing. And when I am teaching, I will often defer to people who maybe do that thing more than I do. And those styles can be specific to your personality, your interest level, your flexibility, your body type, and they're going to play based on however you want to play it. As long as it's effective and you can back it up when you're with other people, by all means, go for it. Like I said, mentioned before, coaching, I think, has just gotten a lot better. Coaching is that people now have strength conditioning coaches. I think people in the near future are probably going to have coaches that help them with specific skill sets. you at one point you had the one coach, and that one coach you were supposed to get everything from. And in my opinion, I think it's a fallacy, and it's not realistic. And it goes back to just an old school view of things. I think that as professional scene continues to grow, you're going to have, like in baseball, how you have a hitting coach, you have a fielding coach, you have a first base coach, you have these different coaches that will help in different areas of your game, and you're just going to have to like reach out. Yes, your head coach can help you with quite a bit, but sometimes your head coach isn't a guard passer. Sometimes your head coach isn't the greatest guard player. While they're well-tuned and well-rounded, they don't have a specialty in it. That if you're a professional, or maybe you just want to gain some added skills, you're going to have to start picking up private lessons from other people, and you're going to have to build that into your game. Just like in MMA, they have a striking coach and a jiu-jitsu coach, a wrestling coach, Muay Thai coach, and you're just going to have to develop certain things with these relationships that you have that wasn't available at one point. And I think the sport is going to continue to go that route. You're going to have coaches for strength and conditioning, which is now a thing. Back in the day, picking up weights is looked at weirdly. You might have a coach that reviews all your game footage and sits down with you, who is not your head coach, sits down with you, hey, this is where we made a couple of mistakes, this is what I want you to do. And that relationship of correcting that is different than your head coach. There's going to be times when you're going to probably have a sports psychologist, someone that helps you manage your anxiety and the issues that you have. So if you have a gym where you have a couple of people who are just, maybe that's their profession or something that they do on the side that they maybe went to school for but don't do it now, that's going to be huge. Like, let your athletes and encourage your athletes to dive into those elements as well, because it's important, especially if you're a competitor. I think that community at large is far different. I came from a background where going to cross training on open mats and seminars, other locations was a bad thing. And these days it's more encouraged. You see it publicized more. I have a workshop at 2 different schools that allow anyone to come in for free. That would have been unheard of at one point. It would have been unheard of for me to be teaching at 3 different gyms. I have a home gym that I'm completely in love with, and I'm not leaving. But I also teach at these other gyms because they're closer to the house, and I want to build a reputation and a relationship and a sense of community outside of my gym. And I think that as the sport grows, it's going to be encouraged to do that as well. There's quite a few people in San Diego that I see that got their belt or train at a specific gym and teach out of multiple gyms outside of their home gym. I love that that's encouraged and that's being allowed now, because again, there was a point in time where that was not a thing. What else? I think overall jiu-jitsu is more inclusive, even though we're hitting a roadblock these days. The current climate is a little weird of the community and the country at large. But overall, I think for the most part, jiu-jitsu has become more inclusive. You'll have gyms that have every race. Jiu-jitsu is one of the weirdest places because it's one of the few where I can go and I can sit down and have a role with a cop. I can have a role with a receptionist. I can have a role with someone who does medical billing, someone who's working retail, a pothead, someone who has their own businesses. That's been a huge one. And I can't think of another facet in my life where I have that. Work is very specific to a job type or bracket when it comes to what we make. Like, we're all in the same bracket. So that's not all that different. Even though we might be of different backgrounds, we all make roughly the same. Church is usually belongs to that specific community. And oftentimes those are governed by finances. Jiu-jitsu for me is really the only thing that I can think of where when I enter that space, I can learn from wide gamut of people. One round, it might be with, again, a lawyer. The next round, it might be a full-time college student, and everything in between. I'm hoping that even with more time, that we get even more inclusive and more understanding of people. And we understand that jiu-jitsu is for everyone. And it's really our job, specifically as instructors and gym owners, to continue to push that. If you have anything that you want to add to this, I would love to get your input. If you have any questions or comments, DFM 09 down on Instagram and Threads. I also have a school community, DFM Coaching BJJ. You can search that on school or in the show notes. Completely free. Currently, I have like 25 people in the group. I share questions, Q&As, techniques of the week. I have all my workshops built into that. So any questions, please hit me up. Until next time, thank you so much.